Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and finally I managed to find a ripe African breadnut. I've been looking at this tree for years, seeing unripe fruit for years, sometimes even seen like bursted ripe fruit on the ground, but this is the first time I found one which is pretty freshly fallen. Must have fallen, I guess, yesterday. Looks a lot like a durian. Makes me miss Southeast Asia, Malaysia and Indonesia. Well, the breadnut, African breadnut, or seedy breadfruit, is quite an interesting plant. It's related to the seedless breadfruit. It's in the same genus. It's quite widespread in Papua New Guinea, where it's quite common even in forests. And it's pretty important as a food source, although it seems it's still underutilized. I don't know what this website meant. Is the fruit underutilized in the wild because it's so common and they cannot collect it all, or is it underutilized because you can cultivate it more? Definitely an interesting fruit because the fruit is edible and the seeds are edible. The seeds, well, it's also sometimes called the African chestnut, or the seeded breadfruit, to distinguish it from the seedless one. Actually, when I was in Guadeloupe, I was told that the people there say they call this the female breadfruit, while the seedless one is the male breadfruit, and they say in a very French way, well, whenever the male breadfruit drops something, there is just a puddle of goo, and whenever the female one drops something, a little baby sprouts up. That's because, the normal breadfruit basically has no seeds, just flesh. So there is really just a bottle or a puddle or a pile of goo. Well, this one can actually reproduce by seeds. Now let's look inside the fruit. I remember that this tree did produce good big seeds. Look at those beauties. Now it doesn't look so much like durian, it looks more like a champedak or a jacknut, which are more closely related. Well, the fruit is supposedly eaten like the breadfruit when it's unripe, and the seeds when they are ripe are being cooked. They're actually of economic value, for example, in the Caribbean. Actually, I wonder why I saw a website where it's called the African breadnut, because it doesn't really come from Africa as far as I know. It comes from Papua New Guinea and Polynesia. Well, so the seeds are edible and the fruit is too. Well, not a lot of flesh. Tastes more or less like a breadfruit. Maybe even a bit more boring than a breadfruit. The breadfruit, when it's ripe, basically it tastes like a boring avocado. Well, this here tastes like an even more boring avocado. Yeah, if the breadfruit is a boring avocado, this is even more boring, but still edible. Totally edible. A bit salty, a bit tasteless. Yeah, saltiness is actually the main taste. Apart from that, not much, but edible. It's not bad. Yeah. Wouldn't say totally recommend eating the ripe fruit, but it's acceptable. It's acceptable. Yeah, I wonder what the seeds taste like. Well, let me try one. Okay, now I got a lot of moisture on them. You're supposed to cook them first, but I hope they are not poisonous when raw. Tastes like raw peanuts. Tastes like raw peanuts. Quite interesting, but I think I'm gonna boil them because because I don't know, they might not be a bit toxic when raw. So folks, this was the Breadnut, or seeded breadfruit. After watching this 3-4 years, finally I managed to find the ripe edible fruit. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful Palmettum. Definitely the best botanic garden in the Canary Islands. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.